مش ازاي؟ مش ازاي؟ ده انا سايب الليل مخصوص. راح لي زد اللي ما راحلوش. انا خسرت كتير. ده ديسريسبكت، ما اسمحلكش. ايه اللي حصل؟ حبنيش حبنيش. ماشي يا عم، شكرا. انا بس كده نركز عشان ايه الكلب ده هيقرفنا. بقول لك إيه يا اسطى، كنتك تهزر معايا كتير، متهزرش معايا تاني بعد اذنك. عمرو الحلاق، الراجل ده اتاخد بان ظلم يا ابو علام. مين اتبند امتى؟ مين بنده؟ عمل ايه؟ اصبروا طيب. عندي سنو بيتخانقوا، سنو عمل لك ريد عشان تلبسهم انت. ها مين بقى غلط في مين؟ الراجل ده مش محترم يا جدعان. اللي اهم من سرج حبهان انك تعرف تجيبه ولا لا. سهل تدفع مش سهل تجيبه. يا شباب اللي هيشتم في الشات هاخد بان. كلامي واضح صح؟ بان نهائي. زوز انت مد صح؟ طير. لو حد شتم حد طيره. انا قاعد مؤدب. انا عايز اوطي صوت اللعبة. الجيم ده هجيب ايه؟ هجيب ماجيك ريزيست. ماجيك ريزيست كتير. ده مزعج. هو كله خسران برضو. انا ايه في المون انا بحسن. جاب ليفل 6 يجري ورايا. في حد مستنيني هناك. اوعى تفلش، اوعى تفلش، اوعى. مستر مجانس ابو علام. يا مستر مجانس، جيجا تشاب بتاع الممثلين كلهم. كمية اي بي مرعبة يا شباب. واضح ان انا البوت دي بس انا محتاج طب ما تيجي كده يا اسطى بقى، طالما انت ذكر كده. كانوا نتكلم حتى امك. محدش عايز يضربني، عايز يقتلني تحت التاور. دوجت. ربنا يوفقكم جميعا في امتحاناتكم يا شباب، ان شاء الله ربنا يوفقكم. يا ادمن ما تنظف الناس البارده دي. هي ثانيه بس، ثانيه بس، عايز افهم حاجه. هو انتوا جايين متخانقين ليه؟ انتوا جايين بالخناقه. انا تايه مش عارف اجيب ايه بقى. عم مذاكر بقى لك 4 ساعات بتكتب للناس تدعي لك. هو ده اللي انا قاعد محترم. حبيبي يا فيليب اكس 226. انا تعبت من تويتش بسبب الاسامي دي يا شباب. دلتا انت موجود يا دلتا؟ دلتا موجود وعارف ان هو كسب سكين ولا مش عارف؟ بيكتب عارف ان انت كسبت يلا دلتا؟ زوز اي حد يشتم حد في الاستريم اديله بان من غير ما عارف. طب عامة السكنات خلصت يا دلتا. الله والله كان نفسي اديك السكنات بس انت كنت عايز سكنات يا دلتا.
No one knows your listening habits better than you. With Spotify Premium, you can download and pull up your playlists anywhere. Take advantage of offline listening and let your playlists take over, one song at a time. Upgrade to Premium and listen your way. Tap the banner to learn more.
Used to make games like Rocket League, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Fortnite? If you said yes to either of those, then this is the course for you. Hi, I'm Mr. Wandro, 12-year industry veteran.
bounding box of the window. We'll do the same thing for the other Boolean operation as well. Select the eyedropper tool and then select the bounding box for the window on the left. And there we go, now it is working properly. If we press Z and go into rendered view, we'll be able to see inside our mesh, as you can see there. And there we go, we've now completed the first video of the modern house. In the next couple videos, we're going to be adding in the second floor, the side wall, and all of that. I hope you're excited to continue working on this course, and I will see you in the next video. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. In the last video, we modeled the first floor of our modern house. In this video, we're going to be focused on the second floor. To get started, we first need to add in a new cube and place it right on the top of our first floor. To do this, let's switch over to the cursor tool, or you can press Shift and then right click to snap the cursor right on top. Then we can press Shift A and add in a new cube. Let's go into front view and make sure this is aligned up properly. So what I'll do is I'll press 1 on the number pad. I'll zoom in and press Z and go into wireframe so we can see what we're doing. Scale the cube down just like this and then line it up with the blueprints. Right about there looks pretty good. You can see it's lined up. Then what we need to do is scale it so it matches this frame of the modern house. So I'm going to press S, then X, and scale it out pretty far. I'll move it over here just like that, and then we'll go into edit mode, select the left side, and then press G and X and move it over here. We can see here that it is a little bit higher than the reference, so what I'll do is I'll just box select the top half, G and Z, and drag it down, just like that. Then what we'll do is we'll select the left side, press E to extrude, and extrude it outwards. You want to make sure that the width of this extrusion is the same as the height, which it looks like it is, so that's good to go. Then we can extrude it up. I'm going to select that height right there, and we want to make sure that the height is exactly the same height as this one, which is 2.74 meters. So what we need to do is press E to extrude, then type 2.74 and enter. And that's going to line up exactly where we need. Then what we can do is press E to extrude and extrude it upwards. Select the left or select the right side of this extrusion, and then we're just going to extrude it all the way across here. Another thing that we can do is we can align both of these edges perfectly with each other. To do this, you can select both of them just by dragging across. Then you can press S, X, and type 0, and that's going to make sure that they are perfectly flat up against each other. And that looks really good. Next up, we want to make sure that it is the width that we need. You can see here it's really skinny. So what I'll do is I'll go into side view by pressing 3 on my number pad. And then if we zoom in here, we need to align it up with the reference image. I'm going to press S, then Y, and scale it out this way, just like this. And then to see what we're doing, let's go back into wireframe. I'll press G and then Y and then move it over, S, Y, scale it outwards, just like this, and then line it up with the blueprint. And there we go. We can see here that it is now perfectly in line and we are good to go. Now let's add in the windows on top here. And to do this, let's select the windows that we've created down here. We'll select the frame, the bounding box, and the empty. I'll go into front view by pressing 1, and then let's press Shift D to duplicate it and place it up top. We can see here that there's an extra window on the right side. So to add that in, let's select our frame. We'll press N to go into the properties panel and then add in another window along the horizontal count. So we'll switch that up to 4, and then we can see it added it right there. Let's go into wireframe and select the empty and move this into place. We can see here that it's currently floating, so I'll press G and Z and drag it down so the frame is slightly inside the cube. Then let's line it up with the right side. So over here, I'm going to press G, then X, and line it up so it's right in line with the frame that we've created, just like that, and that should be good to go. You also want to make sure that the frame is not underneath. You can see it's slightly inside, which is perfect. You want to make sure that it's not like below like that, so make sure the height of the frame is a little bit inside the frame that we just created. Now we also want to make sure that this is lined up on the side view. So let's press 3 on my number pad and we'll go into wireframe, and we can see that it's slightly to the right. So we'll select the empty, press G and Y and drag it over till it lines up with the reference, just like that. And there we go. Let's duplicate this window and place it on the other side. So with the empty selected, let's select the frame and the bounding box. We'll go into top view, Shift D and place it over here. And then remember, we need to rotate this, so select the frame, and then underneath the rotation, let's go to 70 and enter. Currently it's way too long, so we're going to switch the horizontal count back down to 3, just like that, and then we can select the empty and move it into place. I'm going to move it along the Y axis, so I'm going to press G and Y and drag it out this way, and then G and X and drag it out this way until it's lined up properly, just like that. And I think it looks good leaving a corner bit right there. We'll go on the back side and you can see it's not perfectly in line. So what we can do is select the frame and then we'll just add in a couple of segments over here. So we'll bring that up to like 45, and then we'll select the empty and then move it back. You can see it went this way a little bit, so I'll press G and Y, drag it back. And then you can see it's a little bit more in line, and I think that's pretty good. Now finally, before this video ends, let's add in that railing that we can see over here. To do this, let's shift right click to place our cursor right there, and then I'll press Shift A and add in a plane object. Let's rotate this 90 degrees along the X axis so it's standing up. Then we'll go into front view and place this in the right spot. We'll drag it up, S and Z, scale it down, and place it right there. Then we'll scale it along the X axis, so press S and then X and line it up with the blueprint. Right about there, looks good. And then we'll go into side view and line this up as well. You can see it's already in line, maybe drag it back just slightly, just like that. And another thing that we need to do is add some thickness to this. Currently it's a plane, so it's paper thin. That's not gonna look good for the final render. So over in the modifier tab, let's click add a modifier and then select solidify. Bring the thickness up until you're happy with it, probably around there is good. Then let's duplicate this and place it on the other side. I'm gonna press Alt D to duplicate it and then move it over here. The reason I pressed Alt D instead of Shift D is it links these two objects together. For example, if I go into edit mode and select like the part over there and move it around, you can see it's gonna do that exact same thing over on this one as well. This will just make it easier if we're trying to edit one, it will just duplicate that action and place it on the other one as well, which will just make everything a little bit easier. And finally, we'll press G and Y and drag it back so it lines up right there, looks good. And finally, before this video ends, let's go on the back side of our house and add in a wall behind this window, because at the moment it's just see-through and we need a wall there. So let's go ahead and add that in. Let's select the frame, go into edit mode, and then let's add in a couple of loop cuts. The first loop cut that we'll add is down the middle, so press Ctrl or Command R to add in a loop cut. Left click, and then we're gonna drag it over until it lines up with the frame. Right about there, looks good. Then we need to add in 2 more loop cuts. One down the middle on the top, so press Ctrl R. Left click, we'll drag it over this way. Then on the bottom, Ctrl R, left click, and we'll drag it over this way. We want to make sure that these 2 cuts are perfectly in line with each other. So we'll go into vertice select mode or vertex select mode, press Z and go into wireframe. Let's select all of them by box selecting S, X, and 0 and enter so they're perfectly in line with each other. And then we also want to make sure they're in line with the window, so I'm going to drag it over along the X so it's lined up right there. At this point we can select this face and this face, and then to merge them together we can press Ctrl or Command E and then select bridge edge loops right here, and that will add in a face along that wall, as you can see. And there we go, we now have a wall on the back side. In the last video we created the second floor of our house, and in this video we're going to be creating the side of our house, the right side. To do this, it's very simple. We're going to select our main cube that we've used to create the first floor, and then press Shift D and drag it over to the right side. We're not going to need the boolean, so we'll go ahead and delete both of those modifiers. Then let's scale this along the X so it lines up with the reference image. Right about there looks good. Let's go into side view and place this in the correct spot by pressing 3. And we can see if we go into wireframe, the height of this is 6.1 meters tall. So we'll go into the properties panel by pressing N, go over to the item tab, and underneath the dimensions of the Z, let's type 6.1 and enter. You might notice that it's slightly below the height of the frame, so let's go ahead and fix that by going into edit mode. We'll select the top half and just drag it up so it lines up. I also want to make sure this is in line on the left side. So what I'll do is I'll press G and Y, line it up on the right. Then we'll go into edit mode. Let's select the left side, G, Y, and drag it over so it's in line just like that. And then we need to add in a couple of loop cuts. The first loop cut I'll add is right here. So I'll press Ctrl R to add in a loop cut and drag it down so it's right in line with this frame. Next, we'll select the bottom half, just like that, E to extrude, and drag it all the way across just like that.